Welcome back. Well, Fubara Blessing joins us now. He is the creative director for Project Hope. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning, Chamber. Hi, Malpen. Good morning.
Yeah, you know, now that lots of people are grappling with this reality of fuel price, it's hitting hard, hitting home in a harsh way, and it's a scenario that will be here for a while from the look of things. Then the region, young people in this country, particularly in the region too, also in this equation. Now, we understand that the Commission is coming up with this Project Hope, which is aimed at, which is going to create, what, 10,000 jobs. Is that right? And then you're developing the potential, the database to ensure that it's not business as usual. Because part of the criticism is that, look, all of this project, highfalutin, some of them elephants, at the end of the day, they don't deliver to the people, and that's what they don't want to see moving forward. What is it that will, what is this Project Hope about, first of all, and how's it going to be different?
Okay, first, from where you started from at this time in the country, it's quite of a note that government concerns would have to be all hands on deck to see how to, you know, put in effort to ameliorate whatever times that the people will be facing as a result of the new policies of the government. From the top, it's renewed hope, because for the first time, you see Nigerians are all very quiet, trying to see what the policies will turn out to be, in as much as there's going to be a lot of sacrifice to this effect. So for us at the region, we said Project Hope is quite timely at this time, because the Project Hope is just an acronym for Holistic Opportunities, Projects and Programs for Youth Engagement. And why we say it's timely at this time, the Project Hope is a core project and SPV for us to see how to develop a parameter to do sustainable youth development and youth concerns. So back to the question that you asked. Yes, a lot of people have been raising a lot of questions. We all know prior to this time what the story has been with the NDDC as a commission. Firstly, the commission was set up with a mandate to see to the rapid socio-economic growth and economic prosperity of the people, also ensuring that they become politically stable. But if you look at the times, 23 years after the establishment of the Act, it's been a lot of issues down the line. In as much as you also agree with me that lots of effort has also been made from the side of the Commission to see how, you know, they will make a difference. But yes, the doubt has been there. The doubt has been there because the sincerity of purpose has not been established. The sincerity of delivery has not been established. In fact, before this time, we've been looking at the Commission more like a construction company, where it's all about road and infrastructure. Yes, that's good for the region, because also the mandate is to develop the region. But how about people? How about the people? How about developing the people? How about making them economically prosperous?
Yeah, so how is this particular Project Hope going to directly develop the people?
Okay, first of all, the project is consciously designed to establish a sincerity of purpose and delivery. That's why the board, immediately they came in, they first looked at the issues of policy, internal administrative policy, then of course they started engagement to do needs assessment, so you can listen to the various youth groups, to hear from them before you go back to the board, to come up with recommendations out of that. That was how Project Hope was born from. Now, Project Hope in the first phase, which we have just flagged off, has developed a system resource potential database for Niger Delta youth, which is first applauding for the first time in the region. If a board has come and is ready to do things properly, to show sincerity of purpose, then you must have parameter for planning, a parameter that can be evaluated, a parameter from which your plans can be monitored. The reason for the database, which is the first phase of the project, is for us to have a genuine parameter to be able to first see the magnitude of the problem that we are facing. Who are the youths? What are their potentials? What are their qualifications? What are their skills? What are their interest and passion? With this, we should also now go down the line to be able to decipher how many of them have been reached out to or attended to before this time. Because we all know that lots of interventions has been put up for the purpose of the people of the region, from the President's Amnesty Project to the Ministry of Niger Delta to the NDDC. And this comes up with lots of budget that are also for youth development annually. And if you look at the pool, if you look at statistics from BSC, you see that the region C scores, apart from Lagos, one of the highest rates for misery rates and unemployment. What is happening if all of these interventions has been put in place? So the system addresses this going forward.
What about the integrity of this database?
Now, when you talk of data integrity, I believe that one of the things that you consider first is data has to be voluntary. First, if data is voluntary, then you look at the pedigree of the institution that is housing the data. Second, data integrity has to do with data protection. The data protection means that there are certain information that you don't ask the people for. And you should also be able to protect the security of the information that you ask for solely for the purpose of the program, which we're going to take over the course of this.
Should people... Yeah, go ahead.
I was just, well, if you still have a question, I was just going to say that I do wish you the very best. I mean, because a number of people will really want this to succeed. And I'm glad that you're taking on board the fact that a number of other projects had come on before now to look after the region. But it doesn't seem that they have made much of an impact, because if we're to go with the National Bureau of Statistics and what it is that they say about the region, or even the multidimensional poverty index that was released just last year about how one of the poorest states was actually from the Niger Delta.
For Q4 2022.
Yes, yeah. It was quite shocking for a number of people. But I'm wondering how you're going to be integrating this with states, because we know that a number of state governments do also have these sort of programs, these empowerment programs which they want young people to be involved in. How do you intend to work with states to see just how much they have covered, how much ground they have covered, and perhaps what the Niger Delta Development Commission can be doing? Okay,
Maupe, unprecedentedly for the first time, we're trying to see that we engender a proper partnership with the states and the NDDC on these projects. The reason is the states, yes, do have their own plans for youth development. It's never enough, but we have designed something strategically different from what we used to know, something that should be practically delivered from the assessment of the people. First, we're starting with the host state, which is Rivers State, which you can see that I think across board the entire governors in the Federation, we have the youth governor in Rivers State, who has also shown his poise and commitment to see to immediate youth development. So we designed the project. Every state is a member of the 9 states of the Niger Delta, as far as I'm concerned. And every youth from this 9 states is also from Niger Delta. So for us with the SPV from the NDDC, we're going to be carrying out the different projects we're going to reel out here that are practical, that are timely, that will take off immediately while we are collating data, while we are also establishing the partnership with the state to see how to explore resources and, of course, facility partnership at the state level to see that the project is reality.
In other words, you don't exactly have a modality right now. You're just going to see how it is that you can partner.
We do have the modality we designed from the principles of the public-private sector partnership. The reason is we want to see to the sustainability of each of the industries and establishment that will be born out of it. So the modality for partnership for us with the state government is from the government and community public-private sector partnership, where all we're asking the state for would be for facility for the landed assets for the agro-allied farm industry establishment and processor chain, facility for the tech hubs that we're going to use for techpreneurial development, and of course subsequent facilities that would enable the execution of the different holistic opportunities.
How is this different from any of the other projects that the NDDC has taken on before now?
Okay, basically
for instance, the presidential amnesty program or all the other ones that focused on people development?
Good question. First, the mandate of the presidential amnesty program was to identify these agitators, bring them on board, train them, reintegrate them, and empower them. I don't want to go into the scheme and the success of it. Your media, we all know. But none of this scheme came with a parameter. None of this scheme came with a principle of monitoring and evaluation, which the database is doing for us. And for all of the programs that we have designed to engage these youths for, we're not designing it in our own accord. These programs are designed from the assessment of the analysis of the potentials of their resources. I will tell you something. After our research over a while, we see that in spite of the narrative that is being patterned because of our spirit of agitation, we still stand out to be some of the the most committed, the most resourceful and resilient youth for resource potential around the world. So this is what we also want to show, where we analyze these potentials and put it into use for engagement. You don't come and draw up skill acquisition for somebody at the age where the person would have been used to one or two illegals that sees big money. How about identifying the person's skill and develop or give platforms for it to enable other one or two opportunities? That is job creation, and that's what we're doing. And you can't do this without having a data, without having a parameter to know what the people want, what they are and who they are.
How long is it going to take you to collect this data?
The data is continuous. It's a collation process. We have just flagged off online from the 12th of August next month, symbolically International Youth Day. We're going to flag off the establishment of the local collation centers across all the 185 local governments in the region, because the MD has directed that for those persons that will also have issues with accessibility of mobile network or Android phones for registration, we must go offline. Because if we talk about identifying Niger Delta youths between the age of 18 to 45, then if we look at identifying potentials, education or urbanization is not a criteria for potentials. You can also see
I'm just asking, what's the window? Because if you said that the parameter or the database is what you actually need to start off, it means it is critical and fundamental to the success of your program. So the question is, how long do you intend to gather at least the first phase of data with which you intend to work? How long is that going to take?
Beautiful. First, we're not stopping. The data collation will be continuous. We have started. We launched on the 12th, and unprecedentedly, before the next 48 hours, we did over 5,000 data, and the MD and the EDP has directed that immediately we should start analysis and engagement, which the Commission has already drawn out some skill sets from next week that we're going to reach out to immediately. First, to put to the integrity of the database and the project, and secondly, to let them know that indeed there is hope to make a difference.
Okay, let's go to Lagos now. 5,000 people in 48 hours. Interesting. I'm sure my colleagues in Lagos have questions for you.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And this follows up, I mean, it's a follow-up to the timeline that you were asking about. So the names or the database is being compiled now. When will the proper Hope, the project Hope, kickstart? Where will the jobs begin to roll in? I don't know if you might want to reiterate that, if it's something you've not said before.
Okay. First of all, the Hope project has kickstarted. Like we said, it's acronymed Holistic Opportunities Project and Programs for Engagement. The first phase of it is the collation of data, Niger Delta Youth Resource Database, which has flagged off. Like I also said before, the engagement process, we ruled out 5 different areas that we're going to commence engagement with. This is the area of agro expansions and processor chain establishment is in partnership. We also looked at the area of music and arts project, which is predominantly one of the highest generators of labors and employment today for the youths of the country. We're also looking at the areas of tech, having a tech community, because this is also predominant in terms of resourcefulness. We also looked at the area of entrepreneurial support, monifying platforms to support businesses, as well as internship programs. Like I said, the project has kicked off. We have started collating data, and we are putting the data collated in use immediately. From the side of the Commission, from the desk of the Directorate of Skills Development, they have also reeled out some skill sets immediately that the Commission will be reaching out to engage in immediately. Then from September 4th, immediately, we are going to commence the Niger Delta Music and Arts Project that would also empower 5 persons from each of the states in the areas of music production, cinematography, script writing, skit making, and DOP.
If I get you correctly,
we're also setting up, like the MD, the MD directed, because basically before now, the tech hub for us was supposed to be a prototype for one state, because we developed the prototype for engagement according to the state's terrestrial advantage and resources. But MD, in his passion and poise for immediate development, has directed that the tech hub must be established across the 9 states. All of this, we are hitting the ground running as the collation is ongoing.
Right, so if I get you correctly, this is more of an empowerment, skills empowerment, not really giving them jobs, like perhaps connecting them with a job they will do, you know, maybe recommending them? Because I remember that I think the Ministry of Labour had this sort of database for people who are looking for jobs, or they register and they will connect them with employers. So this is essentially an empowerment scheme. And you say that the empowerment has started, because you kept saying immediately. Has empowerment started?
Not really. Yeah, now, like we said again, is holistic opportunities, programs, and projects for engagement. Now, for the part of the employment that you talk about, this is why we built a robust data system first that we can engage with. In the area of requisitions from employers, the best way for you to get requisition is from a credible platform. That's why employers hire the services of consultants for employment. So for us as a region, we've built a platform that will enable us match and match requisitions with professionals and, of course, qualifications on the system. Then the project desk will stand as guarantors and buffer between the employers of labor and those persons with the requisite requisition.
So maybe the framing then is what I have a challenge with, pardon me, because it's set to create jobs. But what you're saying now is to link those who do not have jobs with the jobs that they can then do. So in essence, this is not creating jobs. I just want to be clear so people know what to expect.
Yes.
Just to be clear on the framing.
I also need you. Yes, I also need you to be clear enough. Again, that's why I'm always reiterating that they are holistic opportunities. We're not just doing job linking. Now, there is a Project 999 that is a first takeoff pilot of engagement. The Project 999 is an agro-allied partnership farm and processor chain establishment where we've designed 9 farm templates with each processor chain according to terrestrial advantage and resources of the various states. This farm establishment, we're also going to start groundbreaking from September. This would now employ professionals, skilled, unskilled, and labor persons. This is employment job creation. For the issue of the Tech Creek, which is a tech hub that we're going to be creating and enabling and facilitating grounds for techpreneurs to have access to compete internationally on tech creations and system designs. This is also going to commence immediately. This is not just empowerment. We're also doing the Niger Delta Music and Arts project, like I said, which is an area that we all know what entertainment and music and art does today around the world.
Yes,
so
you
they are
made
holistic
that point,
opportunities.
Me, so that my colleague can come in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very interesting. I'm excited about that, at least for the young people. But quickly, how much is this going to cost?
What do you mean, how much is it going to cost?
How much is it going to cost Project Hope or the NDDC to put this together? What is it costing you, or is it being funded by...
The Project Hope is powered, like I said, ab initio on a public-private sector partnership. The design of the project is meant for NDDC to do 30% of every establishment cost at the level. So the scheme has been rated out for each of these industries that we're coming up with. They have their budget, and our partner investors are coming in with 50% of the budget. 20% of the landed assets give the community that has the land, which we already have 4 states with 50 acres contribution already. It gives them 20% equity in terms of the sharehold. That leaves 30% for NDDC. So we did not, unlike, that's why when we come up with this on the national TV, we're proudly, because the NDDC have been known with the stereotype of funds going out on projects that are not accomplished. But for this time, I think the Samuel Obuku and Charles Ogunla board is set out to do bigger projects with even less fund for the commission. So the funding is not put on the commission. The funding is spread across the private sector partnership interests that are partners on every level of the project.
For me, I'm wondering, Mr. Fubara, is the infrastructure on ground in all the member states, you know, because I've read your statement, and it talks about empowering youths, 1,000 jobs in each state of the Niger Delta, where you're training them, you know, in the areas of their passion, if I'm correct. So if you're training them, if it's a skill empowerment program, are you partnering with skill development agencies in member states, or the agency has put on ground a structure that will be enduring, which will lead me to the next question. But first of all, you can respond to this.
Yes, basically the agency has put an enduring structure on ground, that's one. But again, I still keep repeating, the project is built to be sustained on the principles of partnership, both government, public, and community. Now, the skills development centers and concerns in each of the states, we are drawing the partnership across board. Not just that, we are also drawing an overall partnership of the state government, because this is not just only in the area of skills development, they are holistic opportunities. So we are going to be tapping engagement strategies from every sector that we see that there's a need to come from. So what we're asking the state to do for the first time is to see that we have come up with a template that for once should work. So let's jettison the interests and sentiments that we've had over time in terms of flawed relationship with the commission and the state, and come on board. At the top is renewed hope. At the region is hope. I also believe at the state level it should be more hope to the youths.
Now, just to be clear, Mr. Fubara, is there a guarantee that upon transition from training, those jobs are assured for the youths that will get trained?
Now, the guarantee that we have is, one, the 5 specimen projects that have been designed. Let me just give you a little brief, because a lot of people would say government always come up to talk of jobs. How do they do this? The reason why we created the data system is not just for the collation of data. There's a testimonial bank that will be open to the public, where you see everybody that is engaged on the system for yourself. That's one. Secondly, I give you an instance of Delta State, where we have designed a mechanic village. This mechanic village will have direct partnership with 3 international automobile companies. This mechanic village, we are giving out a 12 square meter shade with a dog car pit to 500 persons, one each for each of this space. Now they are going to also get this space with a configured system directly from the partner automobile company that has a full diagnose system for cars. And they're also going to have a license to have a direct supply of spare parts from the company. For example, we know the rate of inferior parts stars in this country. Now, for each of these 500 persons we are giving this shade, all you owe the commission is for you to employ more 2 persons, a panel beater and a spray painter, which is what you will need for that very shade. This gives us 1,500 persons, my dear. That's practically one for the community. Now, we look at a state like River State, our state, where we have designed a cassava farm on 30 acres and a cassava processing machine and offshore fishing with fishing trawlers. Now, this cassava farm, because we have a processing machine inside of the farm, it will employ both engineers, it will employ both marketers, it will employ both accountants, it will employ both mechanical engineers, because they will be machinery driven. So for this, again, we're engaging 500 persons that will need only one additional support engagement that will give us direct 1,000 persons only on the cassava scheme. Not to talk of the fishing trawler, not to talk of the tech community that we're also creating. So we have practical system for engagement. We're only calling on the people to jettison the issue of distrust in terms of government policies and project implementation. And first give this is trial to a system that has come to do things right.
If this is a public-private partnership, what's the benefit to the private investor over a period of time? What is the assured return on investment for the private participants?
Okay, the benefit, first of all, is we looked at consumption production. Consumption production are the areas that we can power. These are areas that we never go wrong, because we eat every day, and of course you know what demand is. Now, for every of the industry, it's going to be established on a limited liability corporation that gives direct equity to investors. So because it's an industry, all our partners are already experts in the industry that already has establishments profile in the scheme. Because demand is sure, of course, if service is sure, supply will be sure, profit will be driven. Then you know what the architecture of a limited liability company is. Of course, profit will be managed to suit equity and share interests.
All right, so we need to wrap up, but at the end of the day, there's this question about needs assessment. You're already getting data and implementing. Was that done? And at the end of the day, is this going to be sufficient to perhaps dissuade those who probably engage, I think they call it profile or something like that, to ensure that this keeps them away from that.
You see, Chamberlain, what we're even begging right now are members of the Rim of the Fifth Estate that always wouldn't see anything right coming up from the region. Why? Because they think
what's Fifth Estate?
don't worry, you do your research.
Oh, you mean
and
fifth columnist?
You do your research, you know. Now, why I'm saying this is we've had a lot of voice coming up to say, oh, this is another scheme that the commission wants to take out money. This is another scheme without even knowing what the financial administration of the project is. So for us, we're looking at a means where every of this sector that has given us bad narrative would be redressed for good and positive narrative. For the people you just mentioned, they are doing this for the purpose of survival, which I think that if they see a platform that meets their need, their passion, or their interest, not a platform that you plan for them, what would that bring? Commitment to livelihood. And I think we're going to redress the reward system, which is doing a lot in terms of, you know, the insurgency and insecurity we're having.
All right, Fubara Blessing, Creative Director of Project Hope, thank you for coming on, and all the best with this project, because right now people need whatever they can get to keep them going through with this subsidy matter, this unending matter. We do have some messages coming through from you out there. There's very first one is from Anthony. It's about crude oil theft. He says, why do the Nigerian security operatives burn tankers or vessel caught in illegal crude oil bunkering instead of finding ways of deploying it for the good of the nation? Okay, we'll try and ask them.
Indeed. This one is from Adenike Awe, who's talking about petrol price. It's obvious that the marketers are profiteering under the guise of market forces, okay? We all did basic economics. Your selling price should reflect your current purchase price, not anticipated purchase price. The government still needs to be involved in the operation of this sector and not leave the consumer at the mercy of these Shylocks.
And this one is also related to crude oil theft, but more specifically dwelling on the current price regime. From John Ogundele, he says, why is it so difficult to fix our refineries to boost petrol supply, thereby reducing the pump price of the commodity? We are the 6th largest producer of crude oil in the world, but still importing refined products. I've been hearing that question for as long as possible.
Indeed. Take a look at these tweets. One from Hassan Gwandu saying, when the landing cost nosedived to about 460 naira per litre last month, why didn't the price of litre come down to 500, or rather from 540? That's if the market forces really work according to Melekari. And Festus Akiboyewa says, I read the alleged tweet from DSS yesterday. That's about our chats this morning. He says it didn't believe his eyes. If the tweet is truly from the DSS, it is offensive, unnecessary, and unhelpful. It should be taken down. So that's the tweets, or those are the tweets. I'd like to thank you so much for sharing your morning with us. I'll leave with these words. The president and the government will avail those palliatives. The president has given the order. So let's know what is in the works for Nigerians. A lot of people, I mean, this is too much for them to bear. So that's my part in short. But I wish you the very best out there. I'm Kayode Okikelu.
Yeah, as usual, I will always say, do as much as possible to rise against the odds. Thank you for allowing us to share your morning with you. I am Bukola Koka.
Well, we understand the ministerial list is supposed to come out today. The Senate President should be reading that list on the floor of the Senate today. While we keep tabs on that, we will also be reminding the President of his words, let the poor breathe.
One wonders, do market forces work at night, or they don't work in the afternoon? Why don't they to short things go right? Anyway, that is the show today. Thank you for watching. I'm Chamberlain, so goodbye.